This is Find Your Dream Job, the podcast that helps you get hired, have the career you want, and make a difference in life. I'm your host, Mac Pritchard. I'm also the founder of Mac's List. It's a job board in the Pacific Northwest that helps you find a fulfilling career. Every Wednesday, I talk to a different expert about the tools you need to get the work you want. You see a position on a job board. You also find the same job on the employer's website. Where should you apply? Sabrina Pomar is here to talk about why you should use a company's career page. She's the talent sourcing specialist at the Cascade AIDS Project. It's a nonprofit that provides HIV services, housing, education, and advocacy. Sabrina joins us from Portland, Oregon. Well, let's get going, Sabrina. We're talking about online applications today and why you should use a company career page when you apply for a job. Before we get there, I do want to touch on quick applications. You and I spoke about this in the pre-interview, and I just want to set the context here. What is a quick application, and how does it work, Sabrina?
Yeah, a quick application is something that you will probably see on LinkedIn or Indeed. And it's just a quick, if you have your resume uploaded to any of those career sites, you can just hit the quick application and it will just send a generic application. I do know LinkedIn, if you've uploaded your resume, it will send that resume to your prospective employer. And so it's just a one-click button. You send it and you've applied.
Now, I know you as a recruiter and hiring manager see pluses and minuses to this approach using a quick application. Let's talk about the pluses to begin with. How does a quick application help a job seeker?
It helps a job seeker because we have all done the application process and it can be extremely time consuming and it can be exhausting. And so the quick apply will just help the job seeker be able to really just hit that button and continue on with your day. It also will stop with like the repetitiveness. If you've listed everything as far as your job history goes on your resume, sometimes if you go in to apply, it will have you repeat and fill in all those fields again. And so, applying quickly, is just that. It goes quickly. And it also allows the recruiter to get applications faster.
And from where you're sitting as a recruiter, Sabrina, how can using quick applications hurt applicants?
It can hurt applicants because it definitely gives you just a generic application. But it also we as a recruiter, we will get a lot of people who are just mass applying. That's meaning they may have quickly glanced over the job title. If the compensation is where they're looking at, then they'll just apply without really knowing anything about the company or truly what the job description is. And with a lot of the quick applies, sometimes there's some editing that needs to happen, especially with like cover letters that has a very specific date attached to it or the title of the position that you are applying for. Sometimes people forget to actually edit those. And so I will get a resume or a cover letter that has a date that's incorrect and a job title that is incorrect. So that indicates to me that you are just applying and not really being intentional about it.
What happens to the resumes that you review and you conclude that the candidate is, as you say, just applying and not being intentional? What happens to those candidates?
It really depends on their background. I try not to be so harsh when it comes to those things because I do understand kind of the climate that we're in, and that it is really time consuming to apply. So if it's little things, I try not to be so harsh. But I will say with things like not having the correct job title in your cover letter, not changing the date, sometimes even having a completely different company's name on theirs. Those I kind of come off a little bit as red flags for me, as a lot of the times you will list attention to detail as a great job skill that you have. But if you are missing those things, then I can only take that you might be missing some other details when it comes to your actual work.
You mentioned a moment ago that you think many candidates will look at positions, think, well, this interests me. It might not be my ideal job, but I'd like to, because of quick apply, I'll send in a resume and see what happens. What do you think of that strategy as a hiring manager and recruiter, Sabrina?
I definitely say if a job interests you, even if it's in a company that you may not be super familiar with, or if you've never, for example, never done nonprofit work and you're just kind of curious about it, I would definitely say still apply, but apply with intention. Really look at the company. I'm all about growing and expanding and really taking the skills that you have and see how they transition into like a new career. It could end up turning into a great match. So as a job seeker, I would definitely say if it interests you, still put yourself out there. And as a recruiter, I definitely say just because they don't have the direct background doesn't mean they would be won't be an amazing fit for the role. So I would still say put yourself out there.
You've mentioned several times the importance of intentionality when applying for a job. What are the benefits of being intentional when you send in an application?
Being intentional when you're sending in an application is going to be really positive on the employer's side, because we, as employers, we obviously want candidates and we want our employees to love what they do or really be excited about the work that we do or the company that you are applying for. And so if you are not that excited or you're just looking for a job just to get a job, that puts fear on our end that at some point in the near future, you're going to be searching for another job and we're just going to be back to filling this position. So being intentional is making sure that you know about the company and that you're actually, interested in the work and growing with the company versus applying just to apply. And I've done this work in the past, so I'm pretty sure I can do it, but it may not be what I want to do for long term, but I'll do it for 6 months and we'll see how it goes.
You look at a lot of applications, a lot of resumes every day. Can you tell, Sabrina, the difference between an application from someone who is being intentional and knows what they want versus someone who doesn't have that same intentionality?
Yes. With the applicants that we get, we, in our application process, if you've applied directly through the website, you will have filled out all the fields, hopefully. I do know that some people can bypass filling out all the fields, and those are, our questions as to why do you want to work for our company? What about this position excites you? The people that fill that out, I know are being intentional and they're being detail oriented and they're looking at every single question. Now, the candidates that bypass those questions are ones that I generally feel like are just applying to apply, not saying that that's 100% the case all the time. But I do see that as something that I wish they would have done, is filled out those fields.
Well, terrific. We're going to take a break, Sabrina. And in our second segment, I want to talk about the benefits of using a company page when you're applying for a job. And I know you see three major benefits, and I want to walk through them one by one. So stay with us. When we return, Sabrina Pomar will continue to share her advice on why you should apply through a company's career page. Have you ever been asked this in a job interview? Tell me about a time when you didn't agree with your boss. What would you say? This is what's called a behavioral interview question, and it's a common tactic. Employers use this kind of question to explore your fit for a job based on your past experience. It can be an easy question to answer if you have the right strategy. I show you how to answer these gotcha questions in our free Max List guide, 100 Behavioral Interview Questions You Need to Know. To get your copy, visit maxlist.org/questions. You'll also learn 4 simple steps for answering any behavioral interview question. Again, that's maxlist.org/questions. You can count on getting these questions in your next interview. Why not get the answers before you walk into the interview room? Go to maxlist.org/questions. We're back in the Max List studio. I'm talking with Sabrina Pomar. She's the talent sourcing specialist at the Cascade AIDS Project. It's a nonprofit that provides HIV services, housing, education, and advocacy. And she joins us from Portland, Oregon. Now, Sabrina, our topic today is why you should apply through a company's career page. And we spent the first segment talking about quick app applies or quick applications. And let's talk about, and you touched on some of the benefits of using a career page on a company's site. Let's dive into that. And because I know that there are 3 benefits that really stand out for you. The first is, and you touched on this in the first segment, that you're more likely to send a complete application when you use that career page. Tell us more about this and why it matters.
Yeah. So sending a complete application obviously is extremely important. And with the quick app apply, it just sends your resume. Now, with some companies, if you are applying through their website, you will see a place to upload a cover letter. They will have specific questions for you as far as, do you currently live in this specific location? Are you able to work hybrid or on site? Questions like that. Once you fill out all the questions, it will come up on our end as a complete application. You can still apply and have it be an incomplete application. Now, I can look at both complete and incomplete applications. Some hiring managers will only look at completed applications, so they will filter that out. And if you have an incomplete application, you may not be reviewed. Especially if a company uses AI, for example, it could also just filter out complete applications, and those are the only ones that are reviewed and reached out for interviews.
Sabrina, why would someone send in an incomplete application?
Someone who may not know that all those fields need to be complete. Like I said, somebody who's just applying maybe for unemployment benefits just to show that they're applying. And a lot of the Indeeds, LinkedIn's, when you hit the quick apply, all it does is send your resume. It doesn't fill out those fields for you. You may send in an incomplete application by even just starting your application, and that could automatically submit it or show up on the hiring manager or the recruiter's end that you had started an application. And so in those cases, if I get one of those, I always send an email asking to complete them.
So the headline here is, if you want to increase the odds that you're going to get a call back or an offer for an interview, send in a complete application. I know another benefit that you see for using a company career page is that you're more likely to get a better understanding of an organization and its work. How does this happen, Sabrina, by using a company career page to send in your application for a position?
Yeah, by going to the company's website, you're obviously seeing what the company's about. You're more likely to read the benefits of working for that company, really getting to know what they do, seeing photos of people that work there or, people who use their services. And so it definitely gives you a better understanding of the organization if it's a new organization to you. And I would definitely say that is a huge benefit because not only would we be interviewing you, but you're also seeing if you want to work for us. So it's a big introduction on the company, and it will also let you kind of visualize a little bit more on if this is a place you actually want to intentionally apply to.
How have you seen candidates take the knowledge that they get from poking around a company's website and apply it to the application materials that you review?
It definitely shows in our questions that we have that ask, why do you want to work for this company? And what about this position excites you the most? I will definitely know if a candidate had visited the website, if they use that same verbiage or had pointed something out directly from the website. It always shows me that they did a little bit more digging into it. And especially when it comes to any of our interviews, they will say, oh, I noticed on the website, it says this. And that is always a great indication to us so that you've put in some effort into learning about our organization.
How common do you think it is that candidates not visit a company's website? That just seems like such a basic step. But are you finding that indeed does happen, that people apply without checking out a website?
Yes, definitely. It definitely shows when we ask, why do you want to work for the company? And it's a very generic answer. You would be surprised. Some people in interviews do say, I actually don't know anything about your organization. And that's always an indication to us that somebody's just sort of mass applying. So I do see it. And I know it sounds like a very basic thing. It's to know the company that you're applying for, but you would be surprised by the amount that have no clue what we do, but they're still applying.
What do recruiters like you think when someone shows they took the initiative to visit a company's website?
It shows their genuine interest in the position in the company. Now, I'm not expecting by any means someone to know the complete ins and outs of what we do. You'll learn all that once you're in, but it gets us really excited that you're excited to be here. It definitely puts a reminder in our heads that you put in that extra effort and and you're excited, and it makes us genuinely excited to move forward with you.
A final benefit you see in using a company career page when you apply for a job is that it gives you an advantage when you're doing a career pivot. Well,
Yes.
why is this, Sabrina, if you want to change from one career to another and make that pivot, how can applying through a company career page help you do that?
So applying through the company career page, obviously you get to know the company. And in your cover letters or any of the fields that show, why do you want to work here, is where you can really highlight what about your previous work experience and the skills that you gained there and how it will directly translate to what you will be doing for the company and how it can benefit the company. If you don't know much about the company, if you don't know much about the position, it's going to be very difficult for you to highlight those things. And at the end of the day, if I look at your resume and it's incomplete and you didn't fill out those fields, and I see that your experience, your past experience has no direct link to what you're applying for, it won't move you. I won't move you to that top of the list.
Well, it's been a terrific conversation. Now, tell us, Sabrina, what's next for you?
Well, what's next for me is going to be opening new PRISM locations for Cascade AIDS Project. It's something that we're really excited about. We have one currently, and we're looking to open one at the very beginning of 2024, and hopefully more locations in the Portland area.
Terrific. I know listeners can learn more about your work at Cascade AIDS Project by visiting your website, capnw.org, and we'll be sure to include that URL in the show notes. And that you also invite listeners, Sabrina, to connect with you on LinkedIn. And when they do reach out, as always, I hope they'll mention they heard you on Find Your Dream Job. Sabrina, given all the great advice you've shared today, what's the one thing you want a listener to remember about why you should apply through a company's career page?
The one thing I want everyone to take away and remember about this is that the person on the other end will definitely appreciate it. And it also shows initiative and that you are applying with intention. And it's a place that you really, truly want to work. I know sending out the quick links or the quick applies are great, especially if you're connected with the hiring manager and they suggest applying with the quick link, then go ahead and do it. But I always say go to the website.
Make sure you never miss an episode of Find Your Dream Job. Subscribe to our free podcast newsletter. You'll get information about our guests and transcripts of every show. Go to maxlist.org/newsletters. Again, that's maxlist.org/newsletters. Next week, our guest will be Candace Hunt. She's a career strategist, a speaker, and a co-founder of the 5-Minute Career Hack. It's a podcast and a coaching company that helps you change your career and get the salary you want. Every job has good days and bad days, but some jobs leave you exhausted every day. What do you do if this happens to you? Join us next Wednesday when Candace Hunt and I talk about how to recognize and overcome career burnout. Until next time, thanks for letting us help you find your dream job. This show is produced by Max List. Susan Thornton-Hoff schedules our guests and writes our newsletter. Lisa Kislenberry-Anderson manages our social media. Our sound engineer is Matt Fiorillo. Ryan Morrison at Podfly Productions edits the show. Dawn Mole creates our transcripts, and our music is by Freddie Trujillo. This is Mac Pritchard. See you next week.